farther and go to arpeggios. Arpeggios are where instead of playing a block chord, meaning a group of notes all at once, you play the notes one at a time, as opposed to block chord, where you're playing them at the same time. So with arpeggios, the idea is that you're going to think in your left hand the notes of the C chord, and also in your right hand you'll think of those three notes of the C chord. And you're going to just roll up from the bottom bass note up to the top and back down as far as you can go in 4 beats. So if your pattern is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, once you play the bass note on beat 1, which is essential, anything else you play is going to be fine as long as it's a note of the C chord. So I could start in that bass note and just mix the notes all up. Doesn't really matter because they're all notes of the C chord, so they're going to sound great, whether you do them all in a row or mixed up. Depends on what kind of feel you want. So that's something you can start experimenting with. If you play all 3 notes together, 1, 3, 5, in the bass hand, it sounds really kind of heavy and close together. So often in the bass line, what you see in arpeggios is they take away the 3 of the chord, and in the left hand only, we'll play the 1 and the 5 of the chord and the 8. Or you could call it a 1 on the octave above. So that's a really good habit to start playing with if you're going to do arpeggios, is to always use 1, 5, 8 as your basic left hand part, whether or not your left hand plays the 8 or whether your right hand does. See how much more open that sounds as opposed to versus the more open sound. So once you get that openness in the left hand, really from there on out, what you're doing is you're thinking specifically, I need to hit the C bass note on beat 1, and after that, anything you do is more general. You just need to play notes to fill the beats. And as long as they're any of the notes of the C chord, it's going to sound fine. It's not any specific order you have to do. So, and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you can go in a downward direction or an upward direction. That's something you can begin to practice, is to play the 1, 3, 5, just moving up on any chord you're playing, and then practice alternating those to give a little bit of rhythmic variation. Then you can practice playing them together. You can practice playing them in parallel motion, where they're going in the same direction. Or you can practice mirror motion, where they're going in the opposite direction, moving into each other. So the trick is to know that regardless of what direction you're going or how much you fill the beats, you're really just using the same 3 notes in both hands. So before I go, I want to show you one other quick thing, and that's how to apply this information if you're in a song that has pulses of 3 instead of pulses of 4. So if you're doing arpeggios in a song that has counts of 3 instead of counts of 4, you'll want to just adapt it so that you're filling 3 beats worth of notes. So for example, 1 and 2 and 3 and then you're done with the pattern and you start again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and you can play right hand arpeggios while you're playing left hand arpeggios. 1 and 2 and 3 and just remember to spread out that left hand. So one last thing before I go, and that's to talk about how to make arpeggios sound even softer. And the way to do that is to use a neighborhood note. So if the chord is made out of 1, 3, 5, you can use the neighborhood note 2 to make it sound softer. So let's hear an arpeggio where we're going to use the 1, 3, 5 and the neighborhood note of 2. See how much softer that sounds? 1, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 3, 2. I'll show you one example of this. Watermark by Enya uses the bass notes 1, 5, 9, 3, 9, 5. So if we took that back to the key of C that we're working on, 1, 5, 9, 3, 9, 5. as you practice arpeggios, whether you add that neighborhood note or not, you'll find that if you start thinking about what the left hand has in common with the right hand, which is most of the time it's using notes of the chord or notes of the chord plus a neighborhood note, then you're going to find it starts to get a lot easier to stylize a song using some of these ideas. So, good luck, partner. Have a good time. And remember, it's all about having fun. I'm Suzannah Doyle. Thanks for joining me, and have fun stylizing your songs.